Hello guys, so today I want us to discuss about a topic that has happened over the week. And this is in regard to peace. Remember, I have been advocating about peace in our country. And I will not be tired. I will continue speaking and preaching about peace. If you can be able to preach with me about peace, please do so. Everywhere you go, please preach about peace. Now, let's go to today's topic and what I want us to discuss about. The discussion is about the Garissa-based lady by the name Bare Sahara Ahmed. Bare Sahara Ahmed, wherever you are, I would say is that I'm very, very sorry for what happened. The statement you put in ended up being an insightful statement. You got arrested. Unfortunately, you were also released, but I believe there is much more into that. So maybe with that, you're going to change and correct that kind of a move. It was not necessary for you to do that. But my discussion today is not going to be about Bare Sahara Ahmed. It's about NCIC. NCIC came in and condemned Bare Sahara that she gave an insightful statement, that her statements were threatening national unity. Now, let's go and discuss about this case carefully. And I want you to see that Bare this was just the tip of the iceberg. So what is underneath? And the minute you understand what is underneath and how she ended up giving such kind of a statement, then you will understand why NCIC is there and what is the function of NCIC. So let me go into this discussion. The first one, what's underneath? The first statement is, these are stories people grow up hearing. Bare didn't just wake up with that statement. She has grown up hearing these kind of stories. So, for example, she's grown up hearing we have been wronged. She's grown up hearing the others are threats. We must protect what is ours. Over time, this becomes default beliefs, not something the person critically evaluates. So, that is one of the things I want you guys to understand, that there is a shared narrative in the community. In the psychology of this lady, she has grown up with this kind of stories. So it's not something that she brought up, it's something that it's already in her system. Over time, this has become a default belief. Now, the second thing is what I call collective memory. Now, the second thing, communities, especially in regions with past tension, they carry memories. Memories of what? Memories of conflict, memories of resource struggles, that is land, water, livestock, name them. Remember, she's coming from a region where these resources, they are really very scarce. And there is struggle to these resources. There is also political exclusion. So even if Bare Ahmed, she did not personally experience this, she inherits the emotional weight. The emotional weight, that collective memory, she inherits it. So wherever she might not actually experience any of these struggles, any of these conflicts, but she inherits that kind of emotional weight. So the other third point is normalization of a certain language. If similar statements are commonly expressed, especially in homes, local discussions, that is within the local areas, that is mitaani and clubs and social areas, this is commonly expressed in political rallies, in their politicians, then saying it publicly doesn't feel extreme. It actually feels normal because this is something that is talked about in homes, in local areas, in political rallies. So there is normalization of that language. So those 3 points makes you understand what is underneath. So underneath the statement that Barry Ahmed gave, number one, I've told you, shared community narratives. The other one I've told you, collective memory. Then normalization of language. So let's now discuss of, is she just a messenger or what is it? So I will say partly, but not entirely. It's more accurate to say that Bare is both a product of her environment and an active participant in expressing it. Why is this distinction very, very important? Why does it matter? If you say she is only a messenger, it removes personal responsibility. And if you say it's only her, you ignore the wider system shaping her. So reality sits in between. So now the question comes in is where exactly does she really get the confidence? Where is the confidence coming from? In a deeper layer, I want to look at it in this way, that confidence is rooted in a collective certainty, not individual reasoning. So you arresting Barry Ahmed, it's okay because there is a personal responsibility into it. But the truth is, in a deeper layer, the confidence she expressed is rooted in collective certainty, not individual reasoning. Think of it like this. She is not standing alone psychologically. Also, think as it like this. She's backed by an invisible crowd in her mind. So this links popularizes ignorance in some cases where people assume everyone else agrees, or so they speak more boldly. Well, strong statements can signal loyalty to the group. The bolder you speak, the more you are seen as one of us. So this could be happening to Barry. That the bolder she speaks, she's seen more as one of them, or strong, or it could signal loyalty to a group. So trigger factors in this kind of a statement, we will talk of certain conditions. So certain conditions make these expressions more likely. For example, perceived insecurity, that could be physical or economical, political messaging that emphasizes division, lack of interactions with other communities, as well as only hearing one side. So under this kind of conditions, mtajua kwamba speaking like this feels not just safe but necessary. So where is the risk in this? This, I want you to understand that it may reflect a wider sentiment that isn't always openly expressed. And it can signal underlying tensions that hasn't been addressed. So if ignored, it can spread and harden attitude. But it doesn't automatically mean everyone in that community thinks the same way. Loud voices often distort the full picture. So Keep this in mind that this can be reflecting a very wider sentiment that is not openly expressed. It can also signal an underlying tension that hasn't been addressed. And a grounded way to look at it, instead of just looking at it as a messenger or she's alone in the problem, it's more accurate to frame it like this. She is a visible expression of deeper social dynamics, shaped by environment, reinforced by group identity, and amplified by emotions. That is how I can frame it. That Bare is not just expressing herself or her problem. She's not just a messenger, but she's expressing a very visible, deeper social dynamic that is shaped by the environment, reinforced by group's identity, and it is amplified by emotions. So, why this matters for leadership, especially for a peace vision, which I have been advocating, is that if you want to address this kind of issue at a society level, the solution is not silencing these individuals or blaming communities. And this is where I come from. That arresting Barha Ahmed and blaming the community is not a solution to this problem. And this is why I'm coming guns blazing on NCAC. Because the solution is in changing the narratives, increasing inter-group contact, addressing real resource concerns, and promoting shared identity that is national over ethnic. NCAC, I know you can hear me, and if you cannot hear me, somebody takes this to NCIC. That is the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Your work is not to condemn these people. Your key functions include investigating discrimination, fostering peaceful coexistence among Kenyans, advising the government on cohesion policies, and facilitating conflict resolution. As I've said, Bare Ahmed is not just speaking as a messenger, or she's not speaking under her individual basis. She's simply expressing a visible, deeper social dynamic issue that has been shaped by the environment. And this environment, I'm talking of political division, I'm talking of resource struggles, I'm talking of injustices that have been committed, discrimination. These are things that have shaped this environment to the extent that these children are born, they have the weight of the memories, even if they didn't experience it. These children are born, they experience the struggles. They experience the issue of discrimination from resources. They experience these social divisions that is among them. So they even end up grouping themselves that we are in this one. So when I say social dynamics, this is where I say they shaped by environment, reinforced by group identity, amplified by emotions. So your key part is knowing how do we foster harmony, equality of opportunity, and peaceful coexistence among these different racial and ethnic communities. You don't just come out to condemn a case and then you just arrest a girl and she's gone in out by bond and you think that you have done. You need to know that the key functions, and I will repeat again, key functions of NCIC. Number one, promoting cohesion. That is fostering harmony, equality, and peaceful coexistence among different ethnic groups. The second thing is investigating complaints of ethnic and racial discrimination. And from that, you make recommendation to the DPP. He's in the office and he's working. It is also important monitoring and investigating speech that incites violence and promotes discrimination. So she only came out on the media. But what is happening? You also need to understand that you are formed to initiate and promote policy, legal and administrative reforms regarding ethnic relations. This is something that I have not seen being done by NCIC. I don't know whether I need to come to NCIC and actually make them wake up. You need to initiate and promote policies, legal and administrative reforms regarding ethnic relations. The people who are living in those regions, if you listen to them, they will explain to you. They will even give you guides on how they can do to actually live in harmony. The other thing, NCIC, the other key function is conducting studies on ethnic affairs, implementing programs to promote national unity and diversity. You cannot just be, research and education is hii ni lazima. You have to do research, you have to educate. You must do that. And for you doing that, you must conduct studies. This has not been done. What are you doing in the office? Are you just in the office you need to go out and do something. The other function, I will remind you, is conflict resolution, supporting mediation, conciliation, and arbitration to resolve conflicts between communities. If by any means I've rubbed your shoulders wrong, I give my apologies in advance. But the Commission's work is driven by the need for national reconciliation and mitigating ethnically motivated violence, particularly within the political context. That is what NCIC needs to look at. So, by going and arresting this lady, it is okay, because one of the things you must observe is hate speech. There must be hate speech regulation. But I have also not seen the other fellas. There are other fellas who have not gone through the same. I have not seen that. I've not seen them being arrested. And they are actually in public domain, being saying that they are waiting for the people, the young fellas, to come out to demonstration so that they can beat them back to where they are. They can go and demonstrate in Nyeri. These are not statements that should be taken lightly. These are not just hate speech. So you cannot just go and arrest and say you have done hate speech regulation. No, you have not regulated anything. Hate speech regulation includes monitoring and investigating speech. Understand that. Monitoring and investigating speech. If the NCIC has forgotten its mandate and key functions, take to them this video. Let them listen. Let them sit down and listen. Because this was established under the NCI Act of 2008 to promote national unity, harmony, and peace by combating or regulating ethnic discrimination and hate speech. This is happening in your eyes, and the only thing I see is you coming out to condemn. God help us. I believe you got the message clear, but to the people, I say, peace first. Let's keep peace in our country, and let's watch out any type of rhetorical statements or insightful statements. Be very, very cautious of them. Look at them in a deeper way, not just on the surface. It's just not superficial. It's much deeper than what you hear. So what you hear, thank God that you have been able to hear and you have been able to see what is awaiting you. Because God forbid, if in case we break out war today, what happens? What happens to the people in the northern? What happens in this country? The statements we hear hearing, left, right, and center. What happens? What happens in Rift Valley? What is the responsibility of these leaders? I've not seen them being arrested. I've not seen National Cohesion and Integration Commission going to the ground. And if you feel it is so difficult for you going to this ground, we are there. We can go to this ground and we will speak to these people. Be blessed.